In 1 Samuel chapter 27, the first verse, here's what it says. And David said in his heart, now I shall perish someday by the hand of Saul, and so there is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape to the land of the Philistines. And Saul will despair of me, to seek me any more in any part of Israel. So I shall escape out of his hand. And then David arose and went over with the 600 men who were with him to Achish, the son of Maach, king of Gath. So David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, and each man with his household, and David with his two wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's widow. Chapter 29. Jump down to verse 6. Then Achish called David and said to him, surely as the Lord lives, you have been upright, and you're going out and you're coming in with me, and the army is good in my sight. For to this day I have not found evil in you since the day of your coming to me. Nevertheless, the Lords do not favor you. Therefore, return now and go in peace, that you may not displease the lords of the Philistines. And so David said to Achish, but what have I done? And to this day, what have you found in your servant, as long as I have been with you, that I may not go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? And Achish answered and said to David, I know that you are as good in my sight as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the princes of the Philistines have said, he shall not go up with us into battle. And now therefore rise early in the morning with your master's servants who have come with you. And as soon as you are up early in the morning and have light, we need you to depart. Today I want to talk about thanking God for closed doors. Thanking God for closed doors. I need you to do me a favor and turn to your neighbor and tell him, neighbor, don't just thank God for the doors he opens, but thank him for the doors he's closed. Amen. Thanking God for closed doors. One of the ways that God leads and directs us is that God will close doors. Deals will fall through, and things that perhaps we were looking to access, we're denied, and in some instances we are simply rejected. Sometimes you and I have to deal with doors being closed in our face. But it's important for us to understand that God opens doors to promote us, but God also closes doors to protect us. And since God sees further than we do, and God knows what's on the other side of every door we attempt to go through, we should not just rejoice over the doors that he opens, but we got to learn to give God glory over the doors that he closes. Because God wants to protect us and God values us. Sometimes he keeps us locked out, but he keeps us locked out in order to lead us. This is one of the most valuable lessons that David will learn at the lowest point and place in his life. The Bible says that David has been anointed to be the king, but he's not yet been appointed to that position. God has promised him, David, I'm going to do some great stuff in your life. I'm going to move you into the position of king over all of Israel. But watch what he says. David, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over time. I'm going to do some stuff in your life gradually to get you to the place I've already promised you, but I need you to be patient and wait on me. God begins to open up amazing doors. David kills the giant called Goliath, who is the leader of the Philistines. And when he kills him, he gains national notoriety. After he kills Goliath, that great giant, he suddenly opened up for doors for him to go into the palace where he's mentored by a man by the name of Saul. Saul takes David under his wing. Saul is the king at that season in Israel's history. David has doors open for him. Watch this. Not only the national notoriety, but he has access to the current king so that he can gain this mentorship and direction. I mean, it seems like everything is going up from here. God is opening up one door after another. God is showing him one green light after another. God is blessing him in a number of ways in his life, doing stuff he couldn't have done on his own, and suddenly doors start to shut on him. Saul gets suspicious because he sees David's potential. He sees David has a promise over his life. So Saul begins to attack him and assault him. But the scriptures say up to this point that David has been following God. He's been trusting in him. But suddenly David gets impatient with God and decides he is the captain of his own fate and his life. I don't know if you've ever been there, that perhaps God has not moved fast enough in your life on a situation you've desired for him to move on. I don't know if you've ever been there when you're looking for God to open up a door and move in a particular area, and it seems like you're so close, but God is keeping you shut out, and it seems as though you cannot access what God has put in your heart to go after. It's important for us in those seasons to recognize that sometimes God will delay us, but God has not denied us. And just because you got a delay does not mean that you're denied. God is going to open up some doors, but you got to learn how to wait, you got to learn how to trust, and you got to learn how to be patient. Sometimes God will let you close enough to the door, and it's not your time, but during that time, God wants you to trust him, to follow him, and to obey him, and believe if you got a promise from God and a word from God, it may take some time for you to get it, but God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. And if God has given you a promise and God has given you a word, it shall come to pass. Touch somebody in here and tell them sometime you gotta wait. God said, I'm gonna make you the king, but I'm not telling you when. It's going to happen, but it's not time yet. But God, I'm so close. I'm right here at the door. Why hasn't the door opened? David, I got you right here. It's going to happen, but it's not time yet. I went to the bank the other day to do a transaction and conduct some business. When I went to the bank the other day to do the business that I had to do, I get to the bank and I see lights on the inside. I see the lights are on. I see movement from people inside. I see cars outside on the lot. I'm looking and it looks like the bank is open. I'm right there at the door and I go in to open the door, but the door is closed. I realized that I got there too early and it wasn't time for the bank to open up yet. I realized there was 15 minutes until the bank was going to open. That what they were doing on the other side of the door was that they were working and putting stuff in order, rearranging things and getting it ready so that when they opened up the door for me and I went in, I could conduct my business and get access to what I was trying to get. Can I tell you that God is working on the other side of your door? That it may seem like you are shut out, and it may seem like you are locked out, and it may seem like you are not getting in, but God is doing some work while you are waiting. God is behind the scenes putting stuff in order, moving and positioning the right people in the right places at the right time, so that when you get to what God has got for you, God is going to bless you real good. Now, this ain't for everybody, but is there anybody up in this house who'll give God some glory while you're waiting? Because you know God is working. And since God is working on the other side of the door, I'm going to wait right where I am until God opens up the door. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They'll mount up with wings of eagles. They'll run and not be weary. They'll walk and will not faint. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Be of good courage. He will strengthen your heart. Have I got anybody up in this house who knows when God get ready to bless you, whatever you were waiting on will be well worth the wait once you get it? Give God some glory in this house if you're still waiting. David, don't leave. I'm going to open up the door, but I need you to wait till the door you want me to open opens up for you. Up until this point, David has waited and trusted in God to get him to where he's going. Can I talk to somebody in here right now who's so close to getting into the door you're looking to open for you? I know there's a high school student, you're getting ready to graduate this year, and you're waiting for the doors for scholarships to open for you, and they haven't opened up. God said, wait a while. I promise you I'm going to put you in the right place, in the right position, in the right school. I'm talking to somebody who's graduated college, and you thought that the company you desired to work at, the doors would begin to to open, and people were looking for somebody like you, but it does not seem like the doors are opening. God said, just wait a while. I'm going to give you what you want, and it will be well worth the wait. I just want to know, will you trust me in the process? Somebody's got a business, and you're trying to get the business off the ground, and it does not look like customers are walking in your business. You got the doors open, but they're not opening up for you. But is there anybody in here that knows whatever God starts, God will finish? And if God called you to establish anything, God will breathe on it and bless it. Touch somebody and tell them, wait. Here was his mistake. David, chapter 27. The scripture says, David said in his heart, it's time for me to move. I need to leave Philistine territory. I need to leave Israel and go down to Philistine territory because Saul is going to kill me. Wait a minute. David, up until this point, God has protected you and kept you. For 10 years, he serves under Saul. Saul is attacking him, throwing javelins at him, making accusations against him, suspicious of him. But God said in chapter 22 and chapter 23, David, don't leave. Don't leave, stay put where you are. I know it's rough, but I need you to learn how to ride it out even when it's rough. I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. Watch this. God had already told him to stay put where he was and wait on him. But now David says in his own heart, I believe it's time for me to leave where I am and make a move on my own. Have you ever been there in life where it did not seem as if God was moving fast enough and you got desperate? Be careful when you get desperate, because when you're desperate, you make bad decisions. You got to be careful in those moments that you're getting impatient with God, that you don't act independent of God. Because David had been seeking God, praying for his counsel before, but now he acts independent because he's grown impatient. God, I thought you were going to do this faster than what you were going to do. So I'm going to take matters into my own hand and make what I believe needs to happen. Have you ever done that in a deal, in a relationship, in a partnership? You decided to act independent of God. You didn't think you needed counsel. You didn't think you needed the word. You didn't think you needed to come to church. You didn't think you needed to pray. You thought it was something you could decide on your own. I've discovered that when we act independent of God, we make some of our worst decisions. You better pray before you sign that contract. You better pray before you walk down the aisle. You better seek counsel and advice from godly people before you come into partnership with that person. You better be careful what you agree to and make sure you got clearance for takeoff from God. Because God, I don't want to make any missteps and mistakes at this season of my life. Now, I thought I was talking to some mature people who can say, I'm trying to make every step count, every move count. I got to run everything by God. So you're not going to back me up in a corner, tell me I got to hurry up and make a decision. No, I got to hear from God. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. He will direct your path. I want you to write this down. If you want God to open up doors, you can't shut him out. See, we just want God to open up the door. God, all I need you to do is be the door handler. Open up the door. I got it from here, God. No, God, no. If you want me to open up doors, you got to involve me in the decision-making process. You need to ask me while you're knocking on the door, is this the door I'm supposed to go through? You need to ask me while you're working on what you're working on, is this the way I want you to go? Don't leave me and shut me out of the process. Then you want me to open up the door? No, I'm a God who will open up doors no man can shut, and I'll shut doors no man can open, but I need you to involve me along the way. I had an appointment the other day, and I'd never been in this building. When I go into the building, it's a huge place, got sections everywhere, doors all over the room, all over the place, all kinds of doors, all kind of rooms, all kind of sections. So I started searching, saying, okay, I got a meeting in here. I don't know which door I'm supposed to go to. So I found someone who was in charge, wearing the outfit representing that company. I said, excuse me, sir, I'm here for an appointment and I need some direction. I'm supposed to meet with so-and-so and I don't know which door to go to. He says, I want you to go down that hall, make a turn, knock on the door. He's in there, he'll open the door for you. I said, thank you. I was frustrated. I was looking around trying to figure it out myself. But then I said, wait a minute, let me stop. Ask somebody who's in charge so they can give me direction. Watch what I did. I asked, I began to seek, and I began to knock, and the door was open unto me. God said, you need to stop trying to figure out how you're going to get to where I'm trying to take you. You need to stop and ask, seek, and knock, and the door will be open unto you. I need you to spend more time in prayer than you do strategizing and thinking, because if you overthinking and under praying, the door's not going to open for you. But if you come to me and ask, seek, and knock, I promise you I'll open up some doors you had no idea how to open up on your own. Now I need to know, there's some people up in this house. I'm going to stop and pause right there because I feel a spirit of heaviness. I'm wrestling with some folk up in here, but I need some people who believe God got another door. Open up your mouth. Put a praise on it right there if you believe God is about to open up new doors in your life. David, wait where you are until I say so. Don't miss this. I love it. David, I know it's hard, but wait. I need you to wait while I work it all out, because I'm a God who works behind the scenes. And sometime when stuff is not moving around you, that's because I'm doing something in you. I'm maturing you. I'm giving you endurance and patience. Let patience have its perfect work, that you might be complete and lacking nothing. So while you're waiting and it doesn't look like I'm working around you, I'm working on the inside of you. I'm changing your habits. I'm changing your mindset. I'm balancing your emotions. I'm regulating you on the inside. I'm helping you to understand that sometimes you need to be still and know that I'm God. So just because I ain't working around you don't mean I'm not working on the inside of you. Make some noise in this house if you believe God is changing you and taking you from faith to faith and glory to glory. Somebody shout, wait. Now, I'm not one of these people, but I applaud these people. Y'all know every Thanksgiving around the holidays, there are people who for the Thanksgiving Day holiday doorbuster savings will wait outside in the cold. I'm not one of those kind of people. I'm going to enjoy my Thanksgiving and my holiday and my meal, and I don't have to be out in the cold. A TV ain't worth that to me. Now, some people, it may be. Some people will wait outside in the cold. I've even seen people get tents, have on coats and layers, because they're waiting for the door to open. And they'll fight if you try to cut them, because you getting in the way of me having position once the door's open of getting what I want. I love the fact that they're disciplined. I wish people wait outside for church like that. I love the fact that they're disciplined enough to wait outside until the door's open for them to get access to what they want. So they don't move from their spot. They don't move from their position, because when the door's open, they want access. God said, I need you to learn how to wait like that on me. When it's cold, when you get tired of waiting, when you don't feel like waiting, I need you to wait and say, I'm going to stay right here until God says so. If God ain't told me to move, I'm going. Is there anybody here who's waiting on God to open up some doors? There's some stuff you've been praying for. There's some stuff you've been believing for. There's some stuff you've been staking out for. There's some stuff you've been fasting for. Anybody up in here believe God is getting ready to open up some stuff in your life you've been waiting on? Touch your neighbor and tell them just a little while longer, and God is going to open it up for you. Here it is. We see his decision, but then we see the disappointment. The reason I had you read chapter 29 and 27, because chapter 27 shows you his decision. Chapter 29 shows you his disappointment. Follow me. David has been anointed to be the king of Israel. He's now living among the Philistines. He says, I need to flee Saul in Israel. I'm not the king yet. I'm anointed to be the king, but I've been waiting 10 years to be the king. I'm tired of waiting. So he goes down to live with the Philistines. Follow me. This is strange for David to live in Philistia with the Philistines. David has been anointed to fight the Philistines, not live with the Philistines. David has killed the giant Goliath, watch the text, who's from Gath. He goes down to Gath where he's killed their champion. Watch this. The door opened for him to live there in Philistia, even though they were suspicious of him. David goes down, and the text says in chapter 28 and all the way back to about chapter 23, when David goes down to Philistia, he has to act crazy in front of the Philistines so they would be deceived in thinking he was harmless. So David started foaming at the mouth. He started falling out like he was mad. He started acting delirious. And they said, he's no threat. He can stay down here. Watch this. The door opened for him, but that wasn't the door he was supposed to go through. Because in order for him to go there, he had to become somebody God didn't intend for him to be. Can I insert this real quick for you to understand? Just because the door opens doesn't mean that's your door. If you got to change your character, give up your convictions, become somebody God didn't intend for you to be, compromise your standards, your morals, and your ethics, that ain't the door God want me to go through. Because the blessing of the Lord make rich, and he don't add no sorrow to it. When God get ready to bless me, I'll still have my character, I'll still have my principles, I'll still have my morals. I ain't got to sleep with nobody, do no sexual favors for nobody, turn no tricks for nobody, compromise for nobody. When God opened up the door to bless me, I'll still have my character intact. David, I know the door is open, but that's not your door. Have y'all ever seen these signs on doors that say hazard? And they'll have an electric bolt and a shock, and they'll say, do not enter. Even if the door is open, they put that sign on there to help you understand you don't want what's in here. Don't come in here even if you see the door is open, because it can harm you or hurt you. Keep your distance from this door, because this is not the door for you. There's some harmful stuff on the other side of this door. So don't go through this door even though the door is open. You got to realize that God put signs up for us to help us to understand there's certain sects we are not supposed to be a part of, certain cliques we're not supposed to get down with, certain doors we're not supposed to go through, certain people we're not supposed to connect with. And I know what the problem is. We love to thank God when doors open, but can you thank God for all the closed doors? Because he was protecting you and keeping some stuff from messing you up on the inside. I talked to a young man the other day. He came and shared his gift with us, and we sat down and talked, and I complimented. I said, man, he's young and gifted, and I said, man, God is going to do some great stuff with you in music, and I can see what God is up to in your life. I gave him some pointers. I said, man, whatever you do, don't compromise. Keep it high. I said, remain the way that you are. Be humble, and make sure you let God lead you. He said, Pastor, I want to thank you for that. He said, because you would be surprised. I've sat down with producers and people who are in position to elevate me and open up doors. He said, people in the gospel music industry. He said, I've sat down with some of them. Some of these individuals, people would love to sit down and get an opportunity. He said, but they've offered me the opportunity with the condition for me to sleep with them. He said, but Pastor, I can't get down like that. They trying to backdoor me. They trying to do some stuff that I'm not used to doing and wanting to do to get to where I'm trying to go. I said, good for you. Don't compromise your character and your convictions, because it may take you longer to get to where you're trying to go, but it's going to last. I promise somebody up in here on today, sometime you tempted to look at people who look like they getting ahead, and you thinking, why don't I get a little loosey-goosey? Why don't I start doing what they doing? No, it may take you a little bit longer,
longer praying. It may take you a little bit longer being principled. It may take you a little longer fasting. It may take you a little longer being righteous. But I promise you, what God gives you, it's going to last. Is there anybody up in this house who knows when God get ready to bless you, you won't lose it, even though it took you the long way? David has compromised. David compromised and went to this place. I want you to follow me, and it's interesting. When he compromises, it looks like things are working the way he wanted, because it gave him, watch this, temporary relief. He's being chased by Saul, attacked by Saul, threatened by Saul. He says in chapter 27, read it again, he says, it's better for me to leave Israel, and Saul will leave me alone. He's doing well in Philistia, it seems, because he's given a city called Ziklag. But David has become somebody other than who God called him to be. He's conducting raids and he's pillaging villages. He's killing people, robbing, doing all of that, and he's getting resources. He's got his own city in Ziklag. But while he's there, the compromise now leads him to a corner, because though he's there in Ziklag in Philistine territory, they come and ask David to go to war with them against Israel. Now, wait a minute, David. You've been called to be the king of Israel. If you go to war with the Philistines against Israel, you're going to forfeit your future. But David is so far gone that perhaps David thinks this is the way he's going to work for him to become the king. Because y'all know when you start compromising, you start making more compromises to justify your original decision, thinking this is the way I'm supposed to go. So maybe David has given up in his mind that God is going to remove Saul and put him in his place. But if he goes to war with the Philistines, when the dust and the smoke settles, he'll become the king. But watch what God does, because David was in a season where he didn't have good sense. God overruled from heaven and shut the door so he couldn't go through. God said, David, since you don't have sense enough to leave them alone and leave that alone, I'm going to let them reject you and close the door. Now, this is for thinking, mature, spiritual people. I want to know there's some folk up in here who can give God some glory for every no, for every not welcome, for every rejection, for every push away, for every unwanted, for every turn down in your life, because God had sense enough to close the door because you didn't have strength enough. Somebody ought to give him glory. If God protected you, watched out for you, danger seen and unseen. God closed the door. He said, no, David, I can't let you do this to yourself, because you're going to mess up your future and miss out on what I'm trying to do. I know you think that's the way, and you've got so comfortable getting into this place and space that you have gotten so comfortable acting independent from me that you got so far away from me, you lost some of your discernment. This is why you got to be careful to walk close with God, because sin will take you further than you wanted to go and keep you there longer than you intended to stay. This is why you got to stay close to God, because the further you drift away from God, the further it is for you to hear his voice and understand which direction you should go in. But God loves you so much that sometimes God got to shut doors, mess up the stuff you working on, bust up the relationship to get you to come back to him. Matter of fact, you ought to give God the glory for some of the people you didn't go down the aisle with. You ought to give God the glory for some of the companies you want to work at closing the door on you. You ought to give God the glory for the cliques you wanted to be a part of saying we don't want you down with us. I wish I had just a few people who would give God some glory up in this place for shut doors taking place in your life. I want to give this to you real quick. I am a type A personality person. I'm ambitious, highly driven, and I'm not knocking anybody who's got a different personality. We all got our own person. That's how God wired me, amen. That's who I am. But the thing is, that's good in some instances, but it's bad sometimes because you can be so driven to go somewhere and get somewhere that you can't always discern what you should be going after. So sometimes God has to shut up doors to direct you. And God will shut the door to redirect your life. Can I give this to y'all? Sometimes God locks you out just to lead you. He had to lock you out of the situation so he could lead you another way. This is why you got to learn to shout in the hallway. You got to learn to give God some glory before the door opens, because one door being shut don't mean God is through with me. God got a side door. God got a back door. God got a trap door. God got an elevator door. Make some noise up in this place. Touch somebody and tell them that ain't the only door. I know it's disappointing when you're rejected. I know it's disappointing when you're misunderstood. I know it hurts when you've been denied. It hurts when you've been dissed and dismissed. It hurts when you're no longer welcomed or wanted. It hurts when people don't accept you that you wanted to accept you. It hurts when doors close up in your face. It hurts when you wanted that promotion, but you didn't get the promotion or the position. But can you give God glory for the doors that he shut? Because she really wasn't the one for you. That company ended up closing. That crew was whack anyway. A scandal ended up breaking out. You ended up getting a better deal after all. God didn't let you take that offer. He didn't let them receive that proposal because he wants to give you a better deal. Thank God for every no thank you. Thank God for every you're not welcome. Thank God for every you don't fit in. Thank God when people say I don't trust them. Thank God when people said I ain't feeling her. Thank God for every breakup. Thank God for every rejection. Thank God for every denial. Thank God for every closed door in your life, because God was protecting you. I feel like having church all by myself. I wish I had just 10 people who would stand up on your feet and give God some glory and apologize because you've been complaining that the stuff you wanted to work didn't go your way. But can you open up your mouth and give God your best praise for the doors he shut in your life? God knows what's best. God was protecting you. Bill Gates was establishing his computer company. As Bill Gates is establishing his computer company, he offers to IBM a deal for them to buy his company from him. IBM closed the door, said no. Bill Gates said, okay. He said, I'm going to go back to working. So he starts selling this stuff online, in other forms and different formats, and he gets a little money. Then he goes to a billionaire named Ross Perot. Bill Gates goes to a billionaire named Ross Perot, offers Ross Perot a deal to buy his company. Ross Perot was a billionaire, turned him down, gave him an insulting offer, said, $15 million, I'll give it to you. He said, no, I can't do that. I've got too much over here. It's valuable. That door shut. One billionaire closed him down. He goes back and rebuilds his company, and he becomes a billionaire himself. Because God said, I don't want you begging for a deal from a billionaire. I'm going to blow you up to be a billionaire. Now, this ain't for everybody, but I wish I had some folk up in this. Oh, that's too much of a stretch. Just make some noise up in this place if you believe God got something bigger. God got something better. God got something greater. Put a praise on it right where you are. Could it be God didn't give you a seat at their table because he's going to help you build your own? I never forget this. I'm going to give y'all a confession. My father was a pastor. I didn't want to be a pastor, okay? I didn't. Because people have all these ideas about pastors until you become a pastor or live with a pastor. I watched my father do so much out of his own pocket, help people, they burn, all that kind of stuff. I don't want none of that. I don't want to be no pastor. Can I be real with y'all 11:30? I said, and my father was so holy and righteous. I said, now I know I got some stuff. I can't do that. Can I be real with y'all for a moment? I'll never forget, we were having worship on 34th and Emerson in a school. In fact, there were so many churches in that building. There were multiple doors in that building. We were having church in that little bitty room. We had church in there. Finally, my father in the ministry began to get resources enough to be able to try to get some property. So he purchased a piece of property over here on 34th Street, across the street from the park. When he purchased that property, watch this, he just had this dream of building a church and doing all that. But the community gathered together, and the community council came in a meeting and said, we don't want a church over here. And they shut the door. I watched my father cry over that. When they shut that door, not longer he got a call from a friend who said, there's another pastor I know, a Caucasian pastor, who's leaving the community and his church, and he's looking for somebody to take over his building, and it's a really great deal. Long story short, we ended up getting that purchase in that property on 25th and Arlington. Right after that door had shut, God opened up another door for us to have our own piece of property. I came to tell you that when doors shut in your face, it's only because God got something better for your life. You better learn how to trust God in the process of when that door is shut in your face. We see David's decision. Then we see David's disappointment. He's getting ready to go to battle with the Philistines. He made up in his mind, I'm going to fight with the Philistines, and perhaps this is how I'll become king. But the Philistines closed the door. David goes back in chapter 29 and chapter 30, only to discover, to make things worse, that Ziklag, the town and community he built in Philistine territory, had been burnt to the ground. And raiders had come in, taking his family, his resources, and his property. David has left from bad to worse. The Philistines shut me out. I go back home trying to find some solace, but my family has been taken. And the men who are with me are talking about stoning me because their families have been taken as well. Watch what David does. David asks the priest Abiathar to give him the Urim and the Thummim, to give him the ephod that the priest would wear. They would use these instruments to get in touch and in tune with God. David is in the wilderness. Ziklag has burnt. Philistines shut him out. His family's been taken, but David had enough of a prayer life that he knew how to get in touch with God for himself. And God allowed him to get down to nothing because God was up to something. Anytime you're looking down, anytime you're looking around and there's no hope for you, that's God telling you to look up. Sometime God will let the bottom fall out. He'll let your back get up against the wall. So you got no other choice but to pray, but to trust, but to believe, and to come back to him. Now, I wish I had just a few people who could thank God for the moments that it looked like things were going to fall apart, but God used that situation to get you back on track with him. David said it was good that I was wounded. Thank God that when I drifted, doors started closing on me, so I had to come back to you. Now, maybe you never drifted from God, but I want to know there's some folk up in here who can give God some glory for all the stuff that went wrong in your life that brought you back to him. And I give you this, David doesn't have a choir, doesn't have a praise team, David doesn't have a pastor, doesn't have a church building, but he still knew how to have church. Because you need to know how to have church all by yourself. You better learn how to pray for yourself. You better learn how to lay hands on yourself. You better learn how to worship for yourself. You better learn to build yourself up on your most holy faith. You better learn how to get in touch with God for yourself, because sometime the pastor ain't going to be available. Prayer team won't be there for you. Church doors might be closed, but if you call on the name of Jesus, anybody in this place know he still answers prayer. David said, God, what should I do? This is deep. God, where do I go from here? What do I do? Everything is falling apart. God, my men are going to stone me. My family's gone. I don't even know which direction to take to track the Amalekites. The Philistines don't want me. I have nowhere to go but to you. And God, should I pursue them or let this go? Watch God. Pursue them, for you shall surely recover all. God allows David, oh God, I got to stay there. I can't gloss over that. I want to prophesy over this house. It flows from the head to the hem, because I lost a few things from 2017 to 2020. But I serve a God who's not a God of addition. I serve a God who's a God of multiplication. And God will replenish. God will restore. God will resupply. God will restock. God will renew whatever you ran out of. God is not a God of adding. God is a God of multiplication. As a matter of fact, just touch and agree with me in the spirit realm. If you believe everything I lost is coming back and better, everything that left me is coming back. God is going to give me double for my trouble. Every friend I lost, I'm going to get better ones. Every deal that fell through, I'm going to get a better one. Every promotion I didn't get, I'm going to get another one. Every car that broke down, I'm sorry. I wish I had some folk up in this house who would just give God some glory, for what's on the way is better than what's been. Somebody shout doors. I got to give this to you. David says, God, which way should I go? Watch this. He's in the wilderness. He's in the desert. Doesn't know which way to go. Brings the Urim and the Thummim. And God says, go after them. You will surely recover it all. This is where it gets good and providential. It just so happened that the Amalekites, who had raided his village Ziklag and took his family, had raided multiple villages and taken multiple slaves. Watch this. The Bible says it just so happened that there was an Egyptian who was with the Amalekites, who was so weary and worn that the Amalekites left him in the desert for dead. They overlooked him and said he was worthless. But they didn't know the man they left would be the one who had the key to David's next door. The man they left behind, dismissed and overlooked, was the person who had the keys. I want to stop and give y'all this real quick. Be real careful who you look down on, who you reject, who you say is worthless, who you say can't do nothing for you. The janitor may be the lowest person on the totem pole at the company, but the janitor holds all the keys. The janitor got the key to every door. The janitor sees notes that are left behind. The janitor hears conversations in rooms you ain't got to yet. You better stop overlooking people because their shoes, because their hair, because the car they drive. That might be the key to the next blessing in your life. Matter of fact, touch somebody next to you and tell them, don't you overlook me. Don't you miss what I have to offer. I might have the key to the next blessing God gonna release in your life. You trying to get to the CEO, you better hold conversations with the janitor, because he's the doorkeeper. And the Egyptian they left said, I can tell you where they are. Follow me. They left me and they went in that direction. David takes that man, feeds him, and gives him water, nurses the man, picks him up, puts him on his team. Then he and those men he was with caught up with the Amalekites, slayed the Amalekites. They not only got what they lost, they got everything they had from all of their raids. I told you God is not a God of addition. He's a God of multiplication. Not only that, after he caught up with the Amalekites, he discovers that Saul has been slain. Saul has been slain. Israel is looking for a new king. All in a matter of days, the Philistines shut the door. Ziklag was burnt with fire. Finds the man in the desert. Gets all the resources that had been taken and then some. Then he becomes the king over all of Israel. If the door had never shut with the Philistines, Ziklag had never been burned. The men had never been found. The resources had never been gathered. Saul had never died. That door would not have opened. God God the whole time was shutting the door so he could direct him. I'm getting ready to take my seat, but is there anybody here who can thank God because you know all things work together for your good? Is there anybody here who can just give God some praise because the doors that have shut in your life are only leading you to something better? Make some noise up in this place. If you know you got a destiny from God, you can give him glory over doors that shut in your life. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. 2015, God opened up the door. We expanded our sanctuary. God began to move. Great things started happening. But God said, it's time for you to branch out. I said, God, we don't have the finances. God said, did I ask you for the finances? I'll finance whatever you got the faith for. I didn't ask you to have the finances. I asked you to have the faith. I started going and looking for where we would have services on the north side. Went to Heritage Christian School. Began to meet with the staff and the people. Said this would be a great place for us to start our services in the auditorium. We've been in a school before. They said, no, we're not interested in that. Door had closed. Went to AMC Theater on 82nd Street in Castleton. Met with a few people, and they were talking real good. Y'all know sometimes people will talk real good to you. They'll gas you up and it won't take you nowhere. Talk to the person. Yeah, it would be a great place. We'll get back in touch with you. All this. I said, wow, good. So I gave my sister, I said, follow up with this. So I'm asking her, follow up with this. After a while, we had to accept that the door had closed. So I decided to just come back, focus on what we were doing here, even though God had put that in my spirit to do something and branch out and expand. Came back, and 1 year later, after those doors had shut, I'm getting ready to do something here at the church, and God woke me up that morning and said, don't do that. God said, start looking for property. I said, God, we don't have resources. God said, start looking for property. I started looking around. I got a realtor and sat down and looked at a building. When I went into a building on 86th and Hague, the babe in my womb began to leap. I got excited and I said, I believe God wants us to be here. Something is happening. We didn't have the money and the deal was kind of hard for us to get through. Long story short, God ended up blessing us to get that property over there. God allowed us not only to get that property of 3 acres. We don't just have services on Sunday. We got a daycare. We opened up this field to capacity. Every week, parents from the daycare are joining the church. God had to dry my tears and help me understand. I closed the door at the theater because I didn't want you to be somewhere temporary on Sundays. I wanted to establish you somewhere, not just so you could have worship, but you could open up more businesses, employ more people, get more blessings. If you're not too mean, will you just have church with me for a moment and give God some glory for the doors he shuts? He always leads you to something better. If you're not too mean, if you're not too stubborn, I dare you to stand up on your feet, open up your mouth and give God some glory, because what's coming is better than what's been. If you believe doors are about to open, I dare you to rise to your feet. I dare you to shine where you are. Open up your mouth and give God some glory and give God some praise for the doors he's closed in your life. Listen to me. I want you to get this. Stand on your feet all over the building. I want you to understand this. God is a good God.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this video broadcast on the day. I trust that it really blessed and transformed your life. I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel so that you can hear more messages like these. I want to also encourage you to invite all your family and friends to sit down and enjoy these messages with you so that they can be blessed as well. You can also stream us every single Sunday here at New Direction Church. Well, that's my time. I look forward to seeing you all soon. God bless you. Take care.